Welcome to an episode of Chess Sports Talk. And welcome to Week 6 of 2025 NFL season. Week 5's in the books. Woo, that was an interesting week. The first of the buys have kicked off this week. Only two will have it. We'll look more on that later. A lot of interesting storylines, a lot of interesting outcomes from last week, and I did meh. I went 7-7. Started out great. After losing the Thursday night game and only one of the early matchups on Sunday, they ended up only winning one game from the late games and the night games. So something happened at 3 o'clock that just all of a sudden all my picks just went. Anyways, we'll do a quick recap of last week and before we dive into Week 6 action. Week 5 kicked off with a Thursday night game in L.A. between the 49ers and Rams. This one went into overtime. 49ers came down there and played their behinds off. Short manned, and they stuck it to the Rams. The Rams had a hard time getting anything going. 49ers were able to find ways to get people the ball, and their defenses were stepping up, making the plays. Game went to overtime. And the Rams in the red zone, 4th and 1. Yeah, no, there's still time left on the clock. And their defense had no answers for that 49ers offense. So McVay decided to go, you know what, I'm going to go for it on 4th and 1. And it wasn't even flipping close. A lot of things wrong with that one. I think me being probably if I was the coach, I would kick the field goal, tied it, and then really worked on trying to stop the 49ers offense. But that's just me. But yeah, that was a rough thing to see. I just shaking my head. But that started off my week 5 with a loss. And then we kicked things off Sunday morning in London. Vikings, second week in a row in the British Isles. They were undefeated in London prior to this game. And Cleveland, under the tutelage of their rookie quarterback, was actually doing extremely well. It wasn't until the final quarter where Minnesota just kicked it in the gear, started clicking. Wentz was being spectacular. Driving the team down and up winning 21-17 to remain undefeated in London. Then bring it back to Rick's scheduled program. Of course, Colts destroyed the Raiders. I called the Saints win against the Giants. And there was even a defensive return for a touchdown, which really solidified. Rattler had decent numbers in that game, 225 yards in the air and a touchdown. That was a phenomenal game by the Saints to get their first win of the season, and kudos to Kellen Moore with head coaching debut there to finally get it. Dallas knocked off the Jets like I called, but it was a little bit closer than I think what the Cowboys wanted, especially towards the end. So the Jets started to rally back in the fourth quarter, but where's that energy the first 3 quarters? Denver goes into Philadelphia and took it to the Eagles, matching them play for play. And this is, unfortunately, this is the Eagles' MO right now, as they're playing very close to teams, which allows them the ability to lose. And Denver is one of these teams that has the ability to do that. So the Tampa Bay, so the Kansas City. But then, they went a little crazy in the fourth quarter. When they scored a touchdown, they decided to go for 2 and give them an 18-17 lead. They rolled the dice, paid it off, and then they didn't get a field goal. And they raced a 14-point deficit in that fourth quarter to score 18 unanswered and win the game 21-17, getting the Eagles the first loss of the season. Up in Charlotte, I picked Carolina to beat Miami. Thus it happened. Houston goes into Baltimore. Lamar Jackson was out. So many injuries right now for Baltimore, and just about as bad as San Francisco right now. Cooper Rush was not very good in this game. Kept throwing interceptions as the Texans just mowed over Baltimore 44-10. Out in Arizona, this is where things fell apart. The Cardinals were just pretty much, they were dominating this team, and a play where the player, they were about to score, and he dropped the ball before he crossed the goal line. Unaware of his surroundings, and that led a 16-point comeback by the Titans as Tennessee got their first win of the season going to Arizona and knocking off the Redbirds. Then you had the 75 ball between Tampa Bay and Seattle, both wearing throwback uniforms when they first entered the league during this time frame. And I picked Seattle because they're at home. If there was down Tampa Bay, I'd probably pick the Bucs. And this game went back and forth. And kudos to this. If you ever watch this game, this probably was a great game. Not if you're a fan of the Seahawks, obviously. But still, great numbers were put up. And it was just defense all of a sudden just disappeared. I mean, Tampa Bay only had a 13-7 lead at halftime. Ended up winning this game 38-35. Detroit now head down to the jungles of Cincinnati, and they struggled. Detroit allowed 21 points in that fourth quarter. Still beat the Bengals, which was my only win in this second half of the week. Commanders went to L.A. Jason Daniels showed up, over 230 yards in the air, a touchdown. I mean, the Chargers started out 10-0, and Washington had 27 straight unanswered points as they ended up beating the Chargers in L.A. 27-10. Sunday night, Drake May and the Patriots were variable. Stephon Diggs made his return to Buffalo wearing a different uniform. Had 146 yards receiving. Drake May had 273 yards in the air passing as the Patriots beat the Bills 23-20 to give the Bills their first loss of the season. And then Monday night, this game, holy crud. This one actually went back and forth, and I figured Jacksonville would make this a little bit of a game. But I thought Kansas City found their rhythm. They were finally finding all their cylinders and just moving accordingly. And it was only 14-7 at half. Jacksonville got that lead in the third, put them up to 21-14. But the play that shocks everything, deep in the end zone, late in the fourth, I mean, Trevor Lawrence stepped back, got stepped on by his center, so he fell down. Struggled to get up because he fell down again. Got up and still ran in for a touchdown. This is like something you see in a backyard football game or something. And it was comical how it happened. And it was just a weird thing, but that allowed the Jaguars to win and give Kansas City a loss. In Kansas City right now, I thought they turned their leaf, and they end up taking 3 steps backwards. So there was week 5, 7-7. Like I said, that second half was horrendous. Only one was a Detroit-Cincinnati game. So now time to dive into week 6. This week, only 2 teams will be joining the games at home this weekend. That's Houston and Minnesota. Minnesota, after 2 weeks abroad, will come home, get a week off to kind of readjust things. So let's kick things off. We'll head back out to MetLife as Jackson Dart and the New York Giants will play host to their arch nemesis, Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles had that disappointing loss against Denver, a lot of miscues, a lot of issues going on that they need to worry about. A.J. Brown is starting to get a little testy because he's not getting the ball a lot, but that's not how that Eagles offense operates. And that's, some of the issues right there. Overall, right now Barkley is questionable to come in, so if he is not able to go, that eliminates a function of that Eagles offense that could help the Giants. Also, a few issues on that defense, and for the Giants, they have a few people here and there that are also questionable that could hamper their aspects. The Eagles can stop Scatterboo. The Saints defense did a good job of containing him, which then mean that it focus more on Dart, which then make him as effective. Scatterboo overall 240 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. So we'll see how that one goes. Losing, not having Malik Neighbors anymore really kind of hurts the receiving core. So there's definitely some issues on the Giants team as well as the Eagles team. This is going to be a game, I think, to really emphasize which one comes up. This one should be a dandy, though. Even though I'm seeing analytics favor Philadelphia at 74%. Vegas gives them a 7.5-point spread. Don't count out the Giants in this one. I think the Giants will make this a game just because it's a rivalry game between these two. If Barkley can go, I can see this the score probably be that 7-point range. But Barkley's not in it. Expect a 3-point affair. I think more 3-point affair anyways, even if Barkley does go. But I'll give that factor. If Barkley is in there, they should swing the tables a bit to find out if the Eagles can do this. I'm just hoping that the little bit of strife going on with the receiver, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, kind of gets squashed a bit. Maybe, Brown could get some early catches and really kind of spread that defense out, stretch them out, and gives Devontae Smith some time to open up. And then then things will kind of play out. And then Jalen Hurts hits him with his running ability. But I do think Philadelphia's going to win this one. I do think it's going to be close. I think the Giants are going to make this a game, maybe even leading several points during this game. I do think this is going to be a back-and-forth affair. But I will take Philadelphia, but I'm actually tempted to take Giants for the points on this one. Now, Sunday, we head back over to Mario, England, and London as Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos come in to take on the winless Justin Fields and the New York Jets. Now, the Jets have this weird ability to struggle for a majority of the game, and all of a sudden they click it and they start playing and find ways to make it seem relevant towards the end of the game. They need this throughout the whole game. And that's something they need to kind of work on to get going. Bryce Hall needs to find the pay dirt on the ground. J.K. Dobbins is a huge factor in the Denver success because he finds ways to get into the end zone and still establish a good running game, which allows Bo Nix to find abilities to do that as long as he's able to eliminate his mistakes. Right now he's a 2-for-1 TD interception ratio, which kind of tilts the game plan a little bit to one side. But the way they played against Philadelphia, they were all on the same page. Defense, offense, special teams, coaching, the stars are all on the same page of how to handle the Philadelphia Eagles. If Denver can still muster that one and not change any game plan, even though they're in England, I do expect the Broncos to go into London, have no issues over there. Now, analytics favor Denver at 70%. The line has Denver at 7.5. You know what? I'm not going to push back those numbers, even though I think the Jets will come back towards the end, but I think it's going to be a little bit too late for them to come back. They will chip away at that lead, maybe help that over-under spread at 43.5 by getting some points on the board, really push those numbers up. But I do think Denver should go into London, or leave London with the W and keep the Jets winless. So back to our regular scheduled program. On Sundays, the Cardinals will head into Indianapolis, and Arizona got embarrassed at home by Tennessee. Now they got to take on the juggernaut that is the Indianapolis Colts right now. The Colts, under the tutelage of Daniel Jones, has been a shocker to say the least. I mean, he has decent receivers. He's got a phenomenal running back in Taylor. Taylor almost 500 yards on the ground and 6 touchdowns. If you get that type of numbers from the running back, your play as a quarterback is greatly improved because you have to worry about anything. Is now the defense is not worried about trying to contain the run, which then allows you to see one-on-one coverage and be able to find the spots. And he's been finding the spot for his receivers. Kyler Murray right now is questionable with his foot because he had some issues against the Titans, and that could play a huge factor in this game. If Kyler Murray can't go, that's a huge factor to Cardinals' offense that's off the table, and the Cardinals look like a different team without him. Right now, analytics pick Indianapolis at 64%. They gave him a 5.5-point spread. You know what? I see no issues this one either. I think Indianapolis is going to be able to easily cage the Cardinals. Next time, head down to South Beach is the Miami Dolphins, who are struggling hard this year. They're 1-4. Now people expect them to kind of be in this position. The Chargers right now started off hot, and now they're starting to find ways to lose. The games they probably should be winning. Herbert, decent numbers. I mean, over 1,200 yards passing, great there, but he's 2 for 1 touchdowns to interception ratio. Rushing attack, that's the problem they're going to have right now. But Miami's running game is not any better. Acting has not been a huge production. And Tagovailoa, I mean, he has some decent numbers as well. Over 1,000 yards in the air, 10 touchdowns and 4 picks. I mean, that's pretty good ratio if you can consider that. I mean, he has a 5-2. And that defense really needs to get in there and dictate their stances. And that's part of the problem is there's a lot of offensive question marks right now for the Chargers because of injuries, which allows teams to kind of dictate things. Right now, analytics favor the Chargers 60%. The line is 5.5 in favor of the Chargers. I don't know. I'm halfway tempted to go with Miami on this one. Way the Chargers have been playing the past couple of games, they have not been themselves. They need something to kick in to help them out. Miami, it's been trying to find out who is to blame for this particular problem and not really finding how ways to kind of utilize the talents they have to move up. I mean, losing Tyreek Hill for the year hurt the receiving core, but they still have Waddle, but yet they can't seem to find ways to get to him. The running attack is not working. Same thing for the Chargers. The rushing attack's not really working. The defenses are kind of iffy. And that goes back to the quarterbacks. And Herbert and Tagovailoa are good quarterbacks. But it kind of needs some other things. I think there's enough talent on the Chargers side that I still kind of go with the Chargers on this one. Even though I'm kind of – something's telling me to go Miami, but I'm not. Sometimes my voices in my head just say random stuff just to, make fun of me later. But I'm taking the Chargers to win. And then we head down to the Big Easy as the Saints coming off their big win against the Giants, get the first win of the season. They're all happy. They're all ecstatic. Now they get New England. Now a huge win in Western New York, knocking off their arch rival Buffalo in Buffalo. And Drake May is starting to get things together. Vrabel has really got this Patriots in there. He is instituted his own particular flavor of the Patriot way. Stevenson, not much of a factor in rushing attack, but Stephon Diggs has really propelled himself as a key receiver. He's have to find a pay dirt, but his attitude, I think he had prior, has really changed, being passed around so much. And I think he realized that for him to have a long-standing career, he had to think eternally what he had to do to fix externally. And Rattler right now, like I said, decent numbers. I mean, he's not lighting up the scoreboard. Not at all. But 990 yards in the air and 6 touchdowns, those are some decent numbers. I mean, he's guaranteed to give you a touchdown a game. That's part of the issue because you need more emphasis, probably a 2 touchdown performance from your quarterback a game to really emphasize that way your running back can get you one. But the defense really stepped up, and they kind of stepped up big time against the Giants. They've always been kind of floating around there, keep things going. The Patriots are finding ways to really make themselves known. And right now, analytics favor the Patriots at 60%. They give New England has a 3.5 spread right now with Vegas. As much as I can see the Saints maybe win back-to-back, I think the Patriots might be too big of a pill to swallow. And I think New England should sneak out of there with that 3-point victory. Now we have the Browns heading over to Pittsburgh. They're coming off their rest, coming off their time frame. Gabriel had excellent numbers against the Vikings. 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Sanders will now be QB2 because there's a change in that quarterback room from Cleveland as Flacco has been traded away. So Shedeur Sanders might find themselves getting into the game later on. Aaron Rodgers putting up some decent numbers himself. I mean, he's not being flashy. He's being consistent. But he does have 3 picks. And there's some things you got to worry about. The defense has not been a Steeler defense. But now you have the 2 defensive icons in the AFC North, Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt, going at it defensively. You expect Gabriel to find the receivers to really find ways to play the game. I mean, he did extremely well against Minnesota. I kind of expect the same performance for him here again against Pittsburgh. But analytics favor Pittsburgh 63%. They also give him a 4.5 spread. This is another one where my voices are kind of going Cleveland. Go with the Browns. Like the old, I think it was an old betting site ad. Trying to say pick Cleveland. Go with your gut. I'm halfway tempted to go Cleveland. I really am. Pittsburgh has not really sold me yet as being the team to beat in the North, but due to injuries, they are the team to beat in the North. If you kind of catch what I'm trying to say here. So I think Baltimore and Cincinnati are more put together than Pittsburgh, but their injuries have kept them behind the curveball. Cleveland is going to make this a game. I think this is a pick'em game. But I am picking Pittsburgh because analytics love them, like I said, 63%. Vegas loves them at 4.5. I'm not sold on them, but I think Cleveland should make this a game. I'll probably take them for the points just to spice things up. But like I said, I'm uneasy with the Pittsburgh pick. Next time, head down to Charlotte. It's the Panthers with their second win in a row right now, undefeated at home. Hosts the Dallas Cowboys, and we kind of see if Bryce Young can continue to have good games at home. Yes, 950 yards in the air, 7 touchdowns with 4 picks. Not great numbers. Dak over 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Williams coming in the backfield for the Cowboys has really been a helpful thing. Almost 450 yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns. And George Pickens has really stepped in that role to help out, especially if C.D. Lamb is not able to run. Right now, I still listen as questionable, but we know Pickens can be receiver 1 if he can be, or if he has to be. So the Cowboys have that ability. Their defense does tend to allow things kind of get out of hand and make games interesting when they shouldn't be interesting. And we've seen this constantly. You saw that when they took on the Eagles. They couldn't control Philadelphia and ended up losing that game line. Same thing with the Giants. They couldn't contain Russell Wilson and the Giants until he made a mistake in overtime. They couldn't contain the Bears as they decided to show up and play. Couldn't contain the Packers and tying that game. The Jets they contained for a while, then they let them start to come back and etch away at that lead a little bit too late. They still won by 15. But these are the things that just kind of pile up, and there's issues with that defense that needs to be addressed. Trading away Micah Parsons was not the brilliant thing Jerry Jones really thinks it is. That takes away a talented, almost a once-in-a-lifetime talent away from that team and puts them somewhere else. Then it's going to take years to recover from that type of mistake. And the Panthers is one of these teams, you just don't know which version of Carolina is going to show up. It's going to be a team that blew out Atlanta at home in the shutout victory. So the team that tried to come from behind to beat Arizona fell short. This is the team that just fell flat against New England. This is the team that battled Miami tooth and nail to get a victory. We don't know which Panthers team is going to show up. And that's why analytics favor Dallas 62%. They give them a 3.5-point advantage Vegas-wise. Vegas recognizes that Carolina's undefeated at home. Carolina plays well at home. They defend their den very well. And Dallas' defense allows team to stay in the fight. So looking at those aspects, it's going to be a difficult road ahead for them, but they're going to have to find ways to generate the offense they need. The defense needs to step up. By them taking Dallas to win, I like those numbers a lot to be able to escape Charlotte with the victory. Next, let's head over to Jacksonville as the Jaguars had a surprising win against Kansas City. They stumbled and bubbled their way to a victory, but hey, as long as you get the W, it doesn't matter how pretty it looks on film. What happens is the win and the smiles at the end. Now they're bringing Seattle, a team that looks pretty good under tutelage of Sam Darnold. Over 1,200 yards in the air, 9 touchdowns, 3 picks, compared to Trevor Lawrence's 1,000-yard plus, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So he's almost 1 for 1. Well, Darnold is 3-1. I think I'd rather take Darnold's numbers. And rushing-wise, they're almost identical. Entone for the Jags, 440 plus, 2 touchdowns. Walker, 300 plus, 3 touchdowns. So Entone, you get a little bit more yardage. Seattle, you get a little more touchdowns. So like I said, take it as you will. A lot of question marks right now, especially on that defense, which really could hamper the Seahawks to try to contain the Jaguars, who seem to find their voice. I mean, that win against Houston, the win in San Francisco, which I called, the win against Kansas City. So on this 3-game winning streak right now, and they look poised to be able to do this one. And Seattle had that disappointing loss at home against Tampa Bay. They struggled against Arizona. But they don't sit there and drop, to 3-3, fall behind the 49ers even more. And right now, it's almost identical analytical-wise. Jacksonville has 50%. Seattle has 49%. The line is Jacksonville at 1.5. So they see this game as going to be a very epic showdown between these two. I think that as well. I think these two are going to play well against each other. They're going to find ways, but I think the little issues with that Seattle defense kind of, not having the depth they need to take care of Jacksonville is what's going to happen. Trevor Lawrence got to make sure he doesn't trip on his offensive line. Doesn't make mistakes with the football like he did against Kansas City. He made decent plays. The receivers were catching ridiculous balls. I too like Jacksonville. I do like how this one is so close that you might as well hit that coin. But I think it will be this close. It will be entertaining. But I will, like I said, take the Jags to win at home. Now our time to head up to Baltimore, and the Rams come limping in after their embarrassing loss last week to 49ers. Lamar Jackson still listed as questionable. Derrick Henry is not the bruiser he once was for some reason. He's not overly competent or confident, not competent, but confident right now. Getting blasted by Houston really put sour taste in their mouth. Scores getting run up with Kansas City didn't really help matters much. We'll see how the Rams favor gets one. Stafford right now having a phenomenal year, 1,500 yards plus yards, 11 touchdowns, 2 picks. Definitely having an MVP-like year thus far. I know it's early to point that out, but I mean it's phenomenal what they're able to do. It's just wish their defense kind of helped them win games. If a lot of the players come back that are questionable for Baltimore, this should be a completely different game. But there's so many players on that list. Key names. Roquan Smith, hamstring, questionable. Lamar Jackson, hamstring, questionable. Ronnie Staley, ankle, questionable. Let's just name a few. So because of that, things have already changed by the time Sunday rolls around, so I'm sure the line will shift accordingly. But going off of what information I have available as of now, of time of recording, which is way early, analytics favor the Rams at 58%. The line has it at 7.5. Right now, I don't see any issues. Injuries right now being a huge factor in that Baltimore team. If Lamar and a lot of the other key players come back, this should change the aspect of this game and probably put more favor of Baltimore. But right now, I'm picking the Rams to win and continue the Ravens' woes. As he quote, nevermore. Now time to Vegas, where the 1-4 Raiders host the 1-4 Titans. Two teams that are struggling. Tennessee had a huge comeback win in Arizona last week. But Cam Ward not really living up to the hype right now for the NFL standards. Only 879 yards in the air, 2 TDs, but 3 picks. Pollard hasn't really done much in terms of getting out of that backfield for the Titans. Geno, on the other hand, for the Raiders, has some decent yards, but he keeps making boneheaded plays. He has 9 interceptions compared to his 6 touchdowns. A 1-3 negative swing in that ratio. Genty has not really been that star either. Only not quite 350 yards, but he has 2 touchdowns. He had a great game against Chicago. I will grant him that one. But otherwise, there's a lot of issues right now going on. I mean, especially having a pair of tight ends questionable, which kind of eliminates the kind of issues. Tennessee's had a few question marks right now on their team-wise. And it's really who you think is going to get their second win of the season. I think it really comes down to that one. Analytics favor the Raiders at 65%. Vegas also has their hometown team at 5.5. You know what? I don't see any issues with that either. I think Vegas is definitely a better suited team than Tennessee is. There's just if Max Crosby get back there and just disrupt Cam Ward all day, that's going to affect him. As long as the Raiders don't do any boneheaded plays, they should be fine. But I'm also going to pick the Raiders to come away with a victory. Now time to head over to Green Bay as the Packers will play host to the Cincinnati Bengals, who recently acquired Joe Flacco from an in-state rival, counting 750-plus yards in the air, 6 touchdowns, 8 picks. That's part of the problem when you have a Browning as your QB. He does throw a lot of interceptions. And that's going to be a huge factor in that one. I mean, a 3-to-4 ratio, not very good. Jordan Love, 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, and a pick. Jacobs coming out of the backfield over 260 yards on the ground and 4 TDs. Chase Brown's not really doing much for the Bengals coming out of the backfield. And receiver-wise, of course, you're going to have Jamar Chase who's going to give you the most attention. But it's a a weird aspect. Right now, Green Bay's favorite 81%. They giving them the 14.5 spread. I don't think it'll be 14.5 to tell you the truth. But looking at some of the games that Cincinnati's had, I mean, they only lost to Detroit by 13. And yeah, of course, Denver got about 25. Minnesota destroyed them by 38. Now you have Flacco. Should be a little bit better. Not much. And you've looked at Green Bay's defense and offense. They tend to keep teams in there. I'm just not sure about the 14, maybe 13-point win, but I'm still picking Green Bay to win against Cincinnati. That time I head down to Tampa Bay. That's the 49ers limping to town. They did extremely well against the Rams in L.A. Now take their antics to Baker's house. And right now, Mac Jones, 905 yards in the air, 6 touchdowns and a pick. Baker Mayfield, he's putting together an MVP-like season thus far. Over 1,200 yards in the air, 10 touchdowns, and only 1 pick. What's going to hurt them is that rushing attack. McCaffrey is going to be a factor in this game. He needs to be more a factor in this game. McCaffrey's become a dual threat for the 49ers with over 280 yards on the ground, but over 380 yards in the air with 3 touchdowns. So that's one of the things that the Tampa Bay defense is going to have to try to put in there. You still got a lot of question marks in that 49ers offense that could play havoc right now. And you got some question marks right now on that Tampa side as well. That's going to hurt them, especially with that couple key offensive players, with Mike Evans being out. How can Baker find ways? And he always seems to find ways. And right now, because of some injuries and the way Tampa Bay kind of plays, if you look at how Tampa Bay play their game, they are very close. I mean, they beat Seattle by 3. They lost to Philadelphia by 6. Beat the Jets by 2. Beat the Texans by 1. Beat the Falcons by 3. Tampa Bay keeps the games too close. Same thing with the 49ers. I mean, they don't have any huge victory on their radar. I mean, 3 points against the Rams in OT, 1 point against the Cardinals, 5 points against the Saints, 4 points against the Seahawks. They lost by 5 to Jacksonville. So I think these are almost identical teams, to tell you the truth, the way they're kind of playing. Shanahan definitely going to have a game plan against Tampa Bay. But I think it's going to be a pick'em game. Because right now, it's about 51% favor of Tampa Bay, 49 for San Francisco. The line's at 2.5 in favor of the Bucs. That's the coin flip. I'm going to take Tampa Bay only because they're at home. Then we head over to the Arrowhead, as Kansas City will play host to Detroit for Sunday night football. And the Lions right now, decent numbers. Goff, over 1,100 yards in the air, 12 touchdowns, 2 picks, 6-to-1 ratio. Yes, please. Patrick Mahomes, over 1,200 yards in the air, 8 touchdowns, 2 picks. But he's also having 109 yards on the ground with 3 touchdowns, and he's rolling over defenders doing that. You might want to push the brakes on that one. But a lot of their platoon players are starting to come back in and starting to come out. Thornton's starting to become their prime target right now for receivers. Analytics favor Kansas City 55%. Vegas likes them at 1.5. I'm taking Detroit. I don't. Something about the Chiefs seems. I mean, it depends on which version shows up, and that's the problem with the Chiefs. You don't know who's going to show up. They're their own worst enemy right now. So it'll be really interesting to see how this one plays out. But I kind of like the Lions on the road in this one. And then Monday Night Football features another doubleheader, as the Bills lick their wounds, headed to Hotlanta to take on the 2-2 Falcons. Can Penix Jr. find ways to be relevant, or is Josh Allen and Cook and the rest of that Bills offense are going to go off on Atlanta? I like the latter. I think the Bills are going to go off. They looked terrible against the Patriots. Could be a lot to do with a lot of question marks right now on that defensive side of the ball. But that offense needs to get back to dominating the way they're known to do. And B.J. Robinson right now being a threat for the Falcons on rushing and receiving with 300 yards on the ground, 270 in the air with 2 combined touchdowns. Penix Jr. is not really lighting up any stats. Only 900 yards, 3 interception touchdowns. But Josh Allen really has, I think, to take this team on his shoulders and burden the load. Right now, the analytics favor Buffalo at 63%. They gave him a 4.5 spread. They recognize the struggles Buffalo are having right now. They recognize that Atlanta could find ways to make things interesting. I mean, they had that great win against Washington, so they can show up when they have to. But they can also lay a goose egg like they did in Charlotte. We'll see how Atlanta does come off of the bye, but I am taking Buffalo to get a nice comeback victory. And the Bears will head to D.C., take on the Commanders. But Caleb Williams, 900 yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 picks. Decent numbers. Daniels over 660 yards, 4 touchdowns. The rushing attack for the Bears, it's what's missing. Swift doesn't even have 200 yards. Wow. Krosky Merritt, over 280 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns. And Chicago needs to try and eliminate that rushing. But if you do that, then leave Debo out, who has 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. But Adunze is finally starting to step up, almost 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. So the receiving core right now between the 2 star receivers almost identical. The defense got to be more proactive for Chicago. Washington's defense is going to be a havoc. Having question marks in the receiving core will help keep Washington's offense limited. But the feeling will be like very similar to what they did against the Chargers. I think it'll be very similar to that one. You'll see the Bears struggle like they did against the Raiders. I think the Bears' 2-game win streak is going to come to an end. Like I said, analytics 66%. The line's 4.5. I don't see the fault in either one. I'm also picking Washington to beat Chicago to move to 4-2 on the season. Ready to go. Those are my picks. Let me know what you think about the picks I have going on. Do you think I got wrong on anything? Just mix up the comments below. More interact, more boost that YouTube algorithm. You all my YouTube algorithm that we must pay homage to. And sure, frontal cortexes are loaded with all the videos we enjoy, especially ramblings of an old man talk about football. Another thing you can do is hit that thumbs up for this video. Really appreciate it. You want to continue to support this channel. And the only way to really do it that will cost you absolutely nothing, especially in this economy, and we need sure we save all the money we need, is to hit that subscribe button. Click that bell icon, turn on notifications so next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time. Chat Sports Talk.